Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a concept that honestly challenges pretty much everything we thought we knew about getting things done. It's called feel-good productivity.
Mm.
And if you've ever felt that relentless pressure of modern life or, the nagging guilt of an unfinished to-do list, well, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Yeah,
We're going to unpack its surprising secrets, explore some of the science that actually backs it up, and hopefully give you practical insights you can experiment with, like, right away.
that's exactly right. Our mission here is really to give you concise, impactful knowledge without overwhelming you. This isn't about just adding another chore to your life.
Right.
It's more about transforming you into what the author actually calls an amateur productivity scientist.
I like that.
Yeah, you get to discover what genuinely works for you personally through trying things out, through experimentation, and then confidently discard the rest.
Okay. And we're going to structure this deep dive around three core components, right?
That's it. First, we'll explore how to energize yourself. Then, we'll look at how to unblock those common obstacles that always seem to derail us.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, how to sustain your efforts so you can actually avoid burnout.
Crucial. So to really understand this shift in thinking, let's start with a story. It's quite raw, actually, and deeply personal.
Yeah, it really sets the stage. Our journey begins, believe it or not, on Christmas Day.
Of all days.
Right. Imagine a newly qualified junior doctor, just 3 weeks into his very first job, and he finds himself completely alone, managing an entire hospital ward.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was total baptism by fire, and it was made even worse by a rookie error.
Yeah.
He'd completely forgotten to fill out a holiday request form, which landed him in this solo nightmare situation.
Okay, so this avalanche of tasks hits him. What did that actually look like? Can you paint a picture of that ward, say around 10:30 a.m., for someone like me who hasn't experienced that level of pressure?
Oh, it was pure pandemonium. He describes arriving to an avalanche, his word of patient histories, diagnostic reports, and these cryptic scan requests that, he joked would make more sense to an archaeologist than a doctor.
Huh, I can imagine.
And then, within minutes, the first emergency erupted. A man in his 50s suffering a severe cardiac arrest.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And then, as if that wasn't enough, a nurse just casually informed him that a patient urgently needed a manual evacuation, a task that, well, in the medical world, is notoriously unpleasant.
Right, the less glamorous side of medicine. And I'm guessing the chaos only escalated from there.
Absolutely. By mid-morning, Nurse Janice was literally sprinting down one corridor, arms overflowing with IV drips. Down another, an elderly patient was loudly demanding his misplaced dentures.
Oh, dear.
And then there was this drunken patient who'd been exiled from the emergency department wandering down corridor C, shouting for someone named Olive, a mystery woman whose identity apparently was never discovered. And every single minute brought a new demand. Dr. Ali, Mrs. Johnson's fever. Dr. Ali, Mr. Singh's potassium. It sounds utterly, utterly overwhelming.
Really does. Just relentless.
It absolutely was. And he found himself panicking. You see, his old strategy, the one that had flawlessly carried him through medical school, got him countless publications, even helped him launch a business,
Yeah.
was simply to work harder. Discipline had always been his sort of one-size-fits-all productivity system, and until that point, it had never failed him.
But the hospital ward was different, clearly.
Completely different. Since starting the job, he felt like he was constantly drowning. Working late into the night didn't actually help. He just couldn't keep up. His mood plummeted. He found the job utterly depressing, he says.
Understandable.
And he was consumed by this terrifying fear of making a mistake, one that could potentially cost a life. He stopped sleeping properly, his friendships started to wither, his family heard less and less from him, and his only answer to all this pressure was just keep working harder.
Just push through.
Exactly. The crisis really reached its peak when he dropped a tray full of medical supplies, sending syringes skittering across the linoleum floor. And as he stood there, just looking down at his damp scrubs, this profound realization hit him. He had to figure things out fast, or his lifelong dream of becoming a surgeon was genuinely slipping away.
Wow, that's a heavy moment. A real turning point.
A huge turning point. That night, a piece of advice from his old tutor, Dr. Barkley, kind of resurfaced in his mind. Dr. Barkley used to say, if the treatment isn't working, question the diagnosis.
Interesting analogy.
Isn't it? And this simple wisdom sparked a profound doubt in all the traditional productivity advice he'd ever internalized. Did true success really require suffering? Was suffering even sustainable in the long run? And did it actually make any sense that feeling completely overwhelmed would be beneficial for getting things done?
Yeah, questioning the core assumption.
Precisely. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, he says. But then, with this powerful clarity, a revelation emerged. Everything he'd been taught about success, about the grind and the hustle, it was wrong.
Wow.
Working harder wouldn't make him a good doctor, and it certainly wasn't going to bring him happiness. There had to be an alternative path, one not paved with anxiety, sleepless nights, or constant self-sacrifice.
And this led him to the core definition, right, of feel-good productivity.
Exactly. It's an approach that prioritizes your well-being first, and then strategically leverages that well-being to drive focus and motivation.
Okay, so the feeling good part isn't just a nice side effect, it's actually the engine.
That's the core idea. It suggests that feeling good actually changes our patterns of thought and behavior in fundamental ways.
Is there science behind this? Because it sounds great, but...
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
This concept isn't just anecdotal. It actually traces back to some really interesting early research, like Alice Eisen's candle problem experiment back in the late 1970s.
Candle problem. Remind me.
Right. She found that participants whose moods were subtly improved just by getting a small gift of candy, believe it or not, were significantly more successful at solving this complex puzzle.
Just from candy.
Just from candy. It suggested that positive emotions fundamentally alter how our brains operate, leading to broader thinking and greater creativity.
Okay, that's fascinating.
And then you have Barbara Fredrickson's broaden and build theory of positive emotions, which really elaborates on this.
Right, broaden and build.
Yeah, the idea is when we're feeling good, our minds literally open up. We can take in more information, we perceive a wider array of possibilities. It broadens our awareness and builds our cognitive and social resources.
Resources like?
Things like resilience, creativity, effective problem-solving skills, all the stuff you actually need to be productive.
Makes sense.
Fredrickson also developed something called the undoing hypothesis, which is a fascinating counterpoint to stress.
Undoing. How does that work?
Well, just as negative emotions trigger stress hormones, positive emotions can actually reverse these harmful physiological effects. In her study, participants who watched positive films after a stressful public speaking task recovered from their stress significantly faster.
Wow, so feeling good physically calms you down.
Exactly. It doesn't just make you happier. It actively helps reset your nervous system.
This is a really powerful, transformative idea then. We're not just talking about, like, fleeting happiness.
Not at all. This is about fundamentally enriching your life. There was a huge meta-analysis back in 2005 looking at 225 studies.
Okay.
And it found compelling evidence for this. Success doesn't necessarily lead to feeling good. Instead, feeling good consistently leads to success.
So it flips the usual script.
Completely flips it.
Yeah.
People who experience more positive emotions tend to be more sociable, more optimistic, more creative, and they simply accomplish more. They become better problem solvers, they attract higher performance evaluations at work, and they even show greater loyalty to their organizations.
It sounds like it creates a kind of virtuous cycle.
That's exactly the term the author uses. When we feel good, we generate what he calls this non-physical energy, a potent mix of motivation, focus, and inspiration.
Right.
This energy then fuels our productivity, which in turn leads to feelings of achievement and accomplishment, making us feel good all over again. And the cycle continues.
Okay, that's an incredible foundation. So with that laid out, let's dive into the first part of feel-good productivity. Energize the 3 Ps. Play, power, and people.
Let's do it.
And we'll start with something that might seem a bit unexpected, maybe even counterintuitive. The link between play and deep productivity.
Yeah, it might seem counterintuitive, but play is absolutely crucial for breakthroughs. Just consider Professor Richard Feynman.
The physicist, right, Nobel Prize winner.
That's him,
Yeah.
celebrated as one of the greatest physicists of his generation.
Uh.
But in the mid-1940s, after the devastating death of his wife, Arlene, he was completely burned out. He was bored with physics.
Really? Even Feynman?
Even Feynman. He found himself reading Arabian Nights for hours instead of engaging with his research. Just totally blocked.
Wow. That sounds like a profound creative and, well, emotional block. So what was the turning point for him? How did he get that spark back?
He had this epiphany, apparently, while watching a student idly spinning a plate in the university cafeteria.
Spinning a plate.
Yeah, just idly spinning a plate. And it instantly reminded him of his teenage years when he would just play with physics purely for fun, without any pressure of it being important.
Ah, like that childhood curiosity.
Exactly. So he decided to adopt that childlike attitude again. He approached physics as a game without any specific goals in mind, just playing.
And this seemingly trivial act of play with a wobbling plate that led to the Nobel Prize work.
It did. It led him to model its complex equations, which ultimately contributed to his Nobel Prize in Physics for quantum electrodynamics. He found that the work of physics didn't burn him out anymore. It actually became a source of joy again.
That's an amazing story.
And Feynman's story isn't some isolated incident. Numerous other Nobel laureates have talked about the role of play in their groundbreaking discoveries.
Like who?
Well, James Watson and Francis Crick, who uncovered the structure of DNA, they famously described themselves as beginning to play with the ideas. Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin while essentially playing with microbes in his lab.
Huh.
Donna Strickland, a pioneer in laser physics, talked about just getting to play with powerful lasers. And Konstantin Novoselov, who isolated graphene, he described his research as quite playful.
So the pattern is clear. It's not just about taking a break, is it? It's about approaching the work itself with that spirit of curiosity and enjoyment.
Precisely. But as adults, that childhood spirit of adventure, exploring, racing, climbing, just driven by pure curiosity rather than concrete goals, that often gets squeezed out of us.
Yeah, life becomes routine, mundane.
Exactly. Predictable. So how can we actively cultivate this spirit of play in our adult lives? It's a real question.
So how do we do it? How do we bring that back?
Well, there's a fascinating experiment in 2020 from NYU and the University of Miami. They tracked participants' GPS and their emotions. And they found that those who explored a wider, more random assortment of places, like taking new routes to work, trying different coffee shops, just mixing it up, they actually felt happier, more excited, and more relaxed. Adventure, even small adventures, seems key to unlocking those positive emotions and ultimately productivity.
Okay, so injecting curiosity and adventure. The author offers some practical strategies for this, doesn't he? One is choose your character.
Yes. He shares his own past slight addiction to World of Warcraft.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Clocked 184 days of played time as a teenager, which is a lot.
That's dedication.
It is. But he realized the addiction wasn't just the game mechanics, it was the escapism, becoming Sephiroth, the tall, handsome blood elf warlock. That persona.
Right, sipping into a different role.
Exactly. And Dr. Stuart Brown, who's a leading researcher on the psychology of play, identified these 8 play personalities.
Play personalities.
Yeah. Things like the Joker, the kinesthete, the explorer, the competitor, the director, the collector, the artist-creator, and the storyteller. By understanding which ones resonate with you, you can actively take on a play personality that sort of frees up your sense of adventure.
So, like, if you identify with the collector, you might find adventure in rummaging through archives or organizing something.
Precisely. It's about consciously stepping into a role that allows for that childlike sense of exploration and fun within your existing life.
Okay, interesting. Another strategy he mentions is to embrace your curiosity.
Yes, and this has a dual benefit. It doesn't just make life more enjoyable. Curiosity actually helps us focus longer and deeper.
How so?
Well, Walter Isaacson, who's studied all these pioneering minds from Da Vinci to Steve Jobs, found that curiosity is what makes you more creative and genuinely enriches your life. The author himself applies this by treating his daily tasks almost like side quests in a game. Consciously shifting his mindset from just the obvious work to exploring alternative avenues, like deciding to work from a new coffee shop, or just experimenting with some new software for fun.
Little adventures.
Little adventures woven into the day.
Then there's a technique that sounds almost deceptively simple. The magic Post-it note?
Yes, this one is great. It's inspired by Mary Poppins, actually.
Mary Poppins?
Yeah, her principle. And every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find the fun in Snap. The job's a game.
Love it.
So the author literally just wrote, what would this look like if it were fun, on a Post-it note, and stuck it on his computer monitor.
And did it work? Did that simple question actually change anything?
He says it was completely transformative. Memorizing tedious biochemistry pathways, for instance, suddenly became fun when he put the Lord of the Rings soundtrack on in the background.
Oh, okay.
He even used the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack in a geriatric ward to make his tasks feel, well, better and more engaging.
That's brilliant. So the practical application for us, for you listening, is to consciously ask yourself, for any task that feels draining, what would this look like if it were fun?
Exactly. Could you add music? Could you inject some humor? Get creative with the process? Maybe involve friends? Or even just promise yourself a small treat afterwards. It reframes the whole thing.
Building on that idea, another crucial aspect of play seems to be enjoy the process. not just the outcome.
Yes. Think about Olympic climbers,
Yeah.
like Alberto Jimenez Lopez. Even in the intense pressure of the Olympics, he and his fellow climbers seemed relaxed, chatting, genuinely enjoying the physical act of climbing itself, not just fixated on winning a medal.
Right. They're immersed in the activity.
Exactly. And this ties directly into Csikszentmihalyi's famous flow theory. He argued that focusing on the process of a task is what makes it inherently more enjoyable and immersive.
Can you give another example of that? Finding joy in the process.
Sure. Matthew Dix, he's a world champion storyteller, but he once had this repetitive job at McDonald's that he absolutely hated. So he deliberately found joy by turning each order into a mini sales pitch. He started trying to upsell BBQ sauce to every customer, just for the fun of it. He created his own little game within the job.
Huh. So he made the process itself engaging?
Exactly. He found a way to enjoy the process, which made his mundane days feel energizing and, well, fun. It's a powerful reminder that even in routine tasks, you can often find ways to inject enjoyment into the process itself.
That's really empowering. Okay, and the final mindset shift for play is intriguing. Don't be serious, be sincere.
Yes, this comes from the philosopher Alan Watts, inspired by G.K. Chesterton. Chesterton observed that in frivolity there is a lightness which can rise, but in seriousness is a gravity that falls, like a stone.
Gravity that falls.
Yeah. Watts argued there's a critical difference between being serious and being sincere.
Okay, what's the difference in practice?
Think about playing a board game, like Monopoly. You definitely don't want to play with someone who's overly serious, obsessed with winning, rigidly following every single rule, basically sucking all the fun out of it.
Right, the fun killer.
Exactly. But equally, you don't want someone who's completely uncaring and disengaged, just going through the motions. The best players are sincere.
Sincere how?
They're engaged, they're invested in the game, but they're not overly attached to the outcome. They laugh, they joke, they genuinely enjoy the company and the experience itself.
Okay, I see the distinction. So how do we apply that sincerity to work and life?
Well, it means approaching difficult projects by focusing on a process, maybe seeking collaboration, rather than just fixating solely on the end result or the pressure of the outcome.
Right.
In a job interview, it means being present, connecting personally, showing genuine interest, rather than just being a bundle of nerves about getting hired. It's about bringing a certain lightness, maybe even humor.
Like Dr. Derek Shepherd in Grey's Anatomy.
Exactly. His famous line before surgery, "It's a beautiful day to save lives. Let's have some fun." It reframes the whole high-stakes situation with sincerity and, well, a touch of playfulness.
What a liberating way to approach things, even the really tough stuff. Okay, so that covers play. Let's transition now to our second energizer, the boost of power taking control. And this starts with the absolutely incredible story of Netflix.
Yeah, it's quite a tale. Back in September 2000, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, the founders of this struggling little company called Netflix.
DVD rentals by mail, right.
That was it. They tried to sell it to Blockbuster Video for $50 million.
And Blockbuster.
They were famously laughed out of the room.
All right.
Netflix was hemorrhaging cash at the time, only had about 3,000 paying customers, and was on track to lose $57 million that year. Things looked grim.
Wow. Fast forward just 10 years.
Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Another 10 years, and Netflix, now a streaming giant, was valued at something like $300 billion.
That transformation is just staggering. What was the key?
A huge part of it was attributed to its unique culture, really spearheaded by their chief talent officer, Patty McCord. She systematically dismantled traditional corporate policies, things like strict vacation days, set work hours, formal reviews.
Really? Got rid of all that?
Pretty much. She gave employees immense autonomy. This radical approach, they found, fostered better ideas and attracted absolute top talent.
And she distilled this philosophy
Into a single word: power. But, and this is crucial, not power over other people. Instead, she meant feeling empowered to take your job, your life, and your future into your own hands. It's about agency, control over your own domain.
Okay, that sense of personal agency. This brings us nicely to boosting your confidence, believing you can.
Yes, and there's a fascinating exercise study from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. They took 28 female students who were generally averse to exercise.
Okay.
They split them into two groups. One group, the high-confidence group, was falsely told they were naturally fit as a psychological trick. The other, low-confidence group, was told they were unhealthy. Also not necessarily true, just a ruse.
So they manipulated their belief about their fitness. What happened?
The results were really striking. The high-confidence group didn't just enjoy the exercise more, especially the challenging tasks, but they also persevered when things got tough.
Oh.
The researchers concluded when the going got tough, those who believed they could do it regardless of their actual ability were the ones who actually could.
Wow. Belief trumped reality.
It really seemed to. And this aligns perfectly with Albert Bandura's self-efficacy theory from way back in 1977. It's not just about our inherent abilities, but crucially, how we feel about our abilities. Multiple studies confirm it. Believing you can is the first step to making sure you actually can.
So if self-efficacy, this belief in ourselves, is so critical, how do we actively cultivate it, especially if we're feeling doubtful?
Great question. One effective method is what the author calls the confidence switch. Bandura's research showed that self-efficacy is incredibly malleable and actually easy to teach.
Easy to teach. How?
Well, even simple verbal persuasion, like a sincere "you can do it"
Mhm.
from someone, can have a remarkable effect. And there was a 2014 study at Bangor University which found that participants who used motivational self-talk, literally saying things to themselves like, "you're doing well," significantly reduced their perceived exertion and improved their endurance.
So talking yourself up actually works.
It seems to. It's about consciously deciding to flip the confidence switch and behaving as if you're already confident, even if you don't fully feel it yet.
Fake it till you make it, kinda.
A little bit, yeah. But it's more about acting in line with confidence. Another way is the social model method. This highlights how much confidence we gain just from watching others succeed.
How does that work?
There was a study in 2007 at Clemson University. They took children who were about to tackle a climbing wall. One group was shown a video of someone else successfully climbing the same wall first.
Right.
That group performed better, felt more confident, and actually enjoyed the activity more than the group who didn't see the video. It's called a vicarious mastery experience.
Vicarious mastery.
Okay. Yeah, witnessing others' performance on a similar task significantly boosts your own confidence that you can do it too.
So if you're, say, struggling with a daunting presentation at work, just seeing a colleague nail theirs could actually help you feel more capable.
Exactly. The author himself applied this. He used to regularly listen to medical podcasts, like the RCP Medicine podcast, where he'd hear how other experienced doctors approached complex diagnoses. He said it gave him a crucial confidence boost for his own medical practice. Just hearing them talk through it.
That makes sense. But sometimes just thinking about it or watching others isn't quite enough, right? What about actually doing the thing? How do we build confidence through action?
Right. That brings us to what's often considered the most powerful force for building self-efficacy in active mastery experiences, basically learning by doing.
The more you do it, the better you feel about doing it.
Precisely. The more you actively do something, the greater your sense of control becomes. Your skills genuinely level up, and your confidence naturally grows alongside them. Think about compelling narrative arcs in popular stories. Like Katniss Everdeen in The Hunger Games, transforming from a struggling teenager into the Mockingjay. Or Aang in Avatar, The Last Airbender, evolving from a kid in a small village to a master Avatar. Each success, however small it seems at the time, builds on the last one, fueling the next step.
Small wins accumulating.
Exactly. And as you embark on these learning by doing experiences, a really helpful mindset to adopt is the Shoshin approach.
Shoshin, what's that?
It's a Zen Buddhist concept, famously embraced by the legendary Chicago Bulls coach Phil Jackson. It literally means adopting a beginner's mind.
A beginner's mind, even if you're experienced.
Especially if you're experienced. It's about seeing things afresh, free of bias or preconceived notions about how things should be done. It allows masters to keep innovating and beginners to try new approaches without being held back by dogma. By letting go of the need to know everything, paradoxically, we often feel more empowered to learn and grow.
Letting go to gain more control, in a way. Interesting.
Yeah. And finally, to really deepen that mastery and reinforce the learning, there's the protege effect.
The protege effect.
Yeah.
Sounds intriguing.
As the philosopher Seneca wisely said, qui docet dicit. He who teaches learns.
Teaching helps you learn.
Absolutely. A study found that students who actually taught material to a computer-generated student learned it significantly better than those who just studied it alone.
Wow.
This phenomenon is even suggested as a possible reason why older siblings often have slightly higher IQs. They spend time teaching their younger siblings stuff.
So I should thank my older brother.
Maybe. But the key insight here is you don't need to be some kind of guru or expert to benefit. You can simply be a guide for someone else, explaining something you're learning. The act of structuring it for teaching solidifies it for you.
Okay, that's a great practical tip. Moving beyond just confidence now, let's explore taking ownership of your work, finding motivation from within.
Right. And this goes back to another classic psychology experiment, Edward Ditchie's Soma Cube experiment from 1970. He had people solve this puzzle.
Okay.
Some were offered financial rewards for solving it.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, those who got the money were actually less likely to enjoy the puzzle afterwards and more likely to give up once the reward was removed.
Wait, getting paid made them enjoy it less. That seems backwards.
It does, doesn't it? But it highlighted a really counterintuitive truth. External rewards, like money, can actually decrease our intrinsic motivation, our internal drive.
Well, why would that happen?
Well, this led Dicey and his colleague Richard Ryan to develop their groundbreaking self-determination theory in 1981. They showed that motivation exists on this spectrum.
A spectrum.
Yeah, from extrinsic things like pay, grades, social approval, to intrinsic, driven by self-fulfillment, curiosity, genuine interest, the love of the activity itself.
And intrinsic is better.
They found intrinsic motivation is substantially more powerful and much more sustainable in the long run. And crucially, intrinsic motivation flourishes when people feel autonomy, that sense of ownership or profound power over their own actions.
Autonomy again. That links back to the Netflix story.
Exactly. This is precisely why we instinctively hate being micromanaged. It strips away our autonomy.
Makes sense. But sometimes we feel like we have no control, right? Especially in certain jobs or situations.
True. And the author calls this the illusion of powerlessness. We often feel fatalistic, like it's not in my power to move, change, or alter the situation. But the reality is we often have far more agency than we realize, if not over the whole situation, he writes, than over parts of it.
Okay, so how do we find that agency, even in restricted situations?
That leads us to a really powerful strategy. Own the process. There's a remarkable real-world example of this from a Reddit user. Filet-O-Fish1066.
Filet-O-Fish1066. Seriously?
Seriously. He was a software developer who famously automated his entire job for 6 years.
What? Automated his job? What did he do all day?
Apparently, he spent his workdays playing video games and browsing Reddit while his scripts did all the work.
That's incredible.
Yep.
But what's the lesson there, besides maybe needing better job oversight?
Well, the point is, he couldn't choose what his job was, the outcome was set. But he took radical ownership over how he did it. The profound lesson is that even when the ultimate outcome is dictated by someone else, you can still take significant ownership of the process through which you achieve it.
Okay, so even if the what is fixed, you can control the how.
Exactly. Whether you're in customer service, teaching, working in a factory, there are always ways to streamline tasks, innovate methods, or simply improve how you interact within the process. It's about finding that power in doing it your way, infusing your personal touch.
Finding the autonomy within the constraints. I like that.
And finally, to truly harness your internal power, you absolutely must own your mindset. The author experienced this vividly as a junior doctor.
How so?
At the end of an exhausting shift, he was asked to put in an IV drip for a patient. His initial reaction was annoyance, feeling put upon.
Understandable.
But then, he consciously shifted his mindset. He moved from a resentful, I have to do this, to an empowering, I choose to do this. He literally told himself things like, I get to do this, or I'm blessed to be able to help this person.
That small shift in language, did it make a difference?
He says it made a huge difference to how he felt. And this idea is echoed by Seth Godin, who wisely suggests that wandering around with a frown, thinking, why do I have to do this, is fundamentally a decision you're making.
We choose that negative framing.
We often do. There was even a 2021 study that found participants who wrote about choices they made, simple things like, I chose to wake up early, actually rated themselves as significantly more muscular, strong, and well-built than a control group who didn't do the writing exercise.
Seriously, just writing about choice made them feel physically stronger.
Apparently. The researcher said that increasing the salience of choice led to a sense of self-inflation. Have to feels coercive. Choose to is autonomy affirming. It puts you back in the driver's seat.
That reminds me of Viktor Frankl.
Exactly, the Holocaust survivor. He encapsulated this beautifully. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. That choice always remains.
What a profound takeaway. Okay, that brings us to our third energizer, the strength of people connections that energize.
Yes, the power of connection. The core concept here is relational energy.
Relational energy, what's that exactly?
Yeah. It's basically the positive feeling and the increased resourcefulness you gain from truly meaningful interactions with other people.
Ah, so some people genuinely lift you up, give you energy.
Precisely. And others drain you.
Hmm.
Researchers Rob Cross, Wayne Baker, and Andrew Parker famously developed these energy maps back in 2003. They surveyed organizations and found remarkable consensus about who the energizers were and who the drainers were.
People generally agree on who's who.
They really do. And academic interest in this concept has exploded from just 8 studies mentioning it in 2010 to over 80 by 2018. The takeaway is clear. Genuine human connections can profoundly enhance our mood and productivity, but it requires thoughtful, intentional engagement.
Okay, so how do we actively build that kind of positive connection, that camaraderie?
One powerful approach is deliberately cultivating the comrade mindset. A 2014 study from Stanford, led by Walton and Carr, found that teamwork is as much a psychological state as it is just dividing up tasks.
A psychological state. How do they test that?
They gave participants puzzle tips. Some were told the tip came from a fellow participant, while others were told it came from a scientist.
Okay.
The group who thought the tip was from a peer, a fellow participant, felt they were part of a team and worked a remarkable 48% longer on the puzzle.
Just because they felt connected to the source of the tip.
Exactly. Simply feeling part of a collective boosts motivation. It shifts your perspective from a competitive you win, I lose mentality to a collaborative you win, I win one. From my success to our success.
Thinking of others as teammates, not rivals.
That's the core of the comrade mindset. It changes everything.
Interesting. Building on that, there's the idea to find synchronicity. What does that mean in practice?
It highlights the subtle power of shared rhythm or experience. A 2017 study by Good, Choma, and Russo demonstrated this quite neatly. Participants who tapped their fingers in sync with a trio of other people were significantly more likely to share money with that trio afterwards.
Just from tapping fingers together.
Just from that shared synchronicity. It seems to make us more inclined to help both others and ourselves. The implication is that working in sync with others, even if you're not actively collaborating on the exact same task, can boost focus and create a more positive work feeling.
Like co-working spaces, maybe. Or those online writing groups.
Exactly. The author mentions his experience with the London Writers' Salon Writers' Hour, these remote co-working sessions where everyone just writes together quietly online. He found these sync sessions significantly boosted his focus and just felt better than writing alone.
Finding that shared rhythm, even virtually. Cool. Another powerful source of connection mentioned is the helper's high, giving and receiving support.
Ah yes, the helper's high. Alan Lux, who used to lead Big Brothers Big Sisters of New York City, noticed something remarkable. His volunteers were often highly energized, even after really difficult mentoring sessions.
You'd think it might be draining.
You would. But his research later confirmed it. 95% of volunteers reported feeling happier, more fulfilled, and more energized after engaging in service.
Wow, 95%. What's the science there?
It turns out helping others releases feel-good hormones like oxytocin, creating a genuine natural high. This is an incredibly powerful, yet often overlooked tool for boosting your own productivity and well-being. Giving feels good.
So a practical way to tap into this is through random acts of kindness.
Absolutely. The author recounts his own experience during the COVID pandemic, just making tea for the overwhelmed nurses on his ward. A small, seemingly insignificant act, but he said it had a huge positive impact on morale for everyone.
Little things matter.
They really do. You can easily integrate small acts of kindness into your daily life. Buying lunch for a colleague, letting someone go ahead of you in a queue, writing a personalized thank you note. These subtle acts can be transformative, creating ripples of positive energy.
And just as important as giving help is receiving it, right? Which leads to ask for help from others.
Yes, and this might sound counterintuitive again, especially for those of us who pride ourselves on being self-sufficient. But the famous Benjamin Franklin effect suggests something interesting.
The Benjamin Franklin effect.
Yeah, the story goes that Benjamin Franklin wanted to win over a rival legislator who didn't like him. So he asked to borrow a rare book from the legislator's library.
Okay.
After returning the book with thanks, the legislator started treating Franklin much more favorably. Asking for that small favor actually made the rival think better of him.
So asking for help can be a form of connection building.
Exactly. In many ways, asking for help is actually a gift you give to others. It makes them feel valued, knowledgeable, and good about themselves for being able to assist. Yet, We often drastically underestimate others' willingness to help by as much as 50%, according to research by Flynn and Bonds.
Why do we hesitate so much?
Usually fear. Fear of bothering them, fear of looking stupid,
Yeah.
fear of
Yeah,
rejection.
so how do we overcome that and ask effectively?
Well, first, just know that people are generally much more willing to help than you think. Second, try to ask in person if possible. A 2017 study found it's 34 times more effective than asking via email.
34 times. Wow.
Yeah. And third, use the right language. Avoid negative or apologetic phrases like, I feel really bad for asking, but. Instead, frame your request by emphasizing positive reasons for choosing them. Maybe say something like, I saw your amazing work on XYZ and it really impressed me, so I immediately thought of you for advice on this.
Make them feel valued, not burdened.
Precisely. That makes all the difference.
Okay. Finally, within this realm of people power, there's the idea of over-communicating, sharing the right amount of information.
Yes. And this is something the author realized quite painfully when he was launching his own business. He consistently underestimated just how much communication was truly needed to get everyone on the same page.
It's easy to assume people understand, isn't it?
Very easy. And compounding the problem is, well, the fact that humans are prone to lying fairly frequently. A 2002 study by Robert Feldman found that something like 60% of people lie at least once in a typical 10-minute conversation.
60%, that's high.
It is. And often, complete honesty can feel like a lose-lose scenario in many interactions, especially difficult ones.
So the rule of thumb here is...
Basically, when you think you've communicated plenty, you almost certainly haven't. People interpret information differently. They have varying levels of context. So over-communicating means consciously going beyond the bare minimum to ensure your message is not just heard, but truly received, understood, and assimilated by everyone involved.
Okay, be clearer and more thorough than you think you need to be.
Exactly. And this applies to good news, too. You should over-communicate the good.
Why over-communicate good news?
Well, there's a wise Swedish proverb. A shared joy is a double joy. A shared sorrow is a half sorrow. Sharing positive news actually amplifies the positive emotions for both the person sharing and the person responding. Expressing pride in others' achievements bolsters relationships.
Celebrating wins together.
Yes. Shelley Gable's research at the University of California identified 4 ways people respond to good news. She found that active constructive responses showing genuine delight and enthusiastic support significantly strengthen relationships. Passive or destructive responses weaken them.
Active, constructive, like what?
Like showing genuine delight. That's wonderful news. I'm so happy for you. Maybe recalling their process and effort. I remember how hard you worked on that proposal. And expressing sincere optimism for their future. This opens up so many exciting opportunities for you. It really lifts everyone.
That makes sense. It fuels positivity. But what about the tough stuff? You also need to over-communicate the not so good. How do you do that effectively without causing conflict?
Right, that's the tricky part. The solution offered here lies in Kim Scott's concept of radical candor.
Radical candor. I've heard of that.
It's a powerful approach that combines caring personally about the individual with challenging directly on the issue. It's about being upfront and honest, but crucially, without making it personal or assuming you know best.
Okay, so how do you craft that kind of candid feedback?
First, rooted in objective, non-judgmental terms. Focus always on the specific behavior, not the person's character. For example, say, I noticed you cut Hermione off a few times during that meeting when she was trying to speak, versus blurting out, you are incredibly rude. See the difference?
Huge difference. One is an observation, the other is an attack.
Exactly. Second, always try to assume positive intent, at least initially. Maybe they're going through something you don't know about. Then ask clarifying questions like, can you help me understand what was happening from your perspective in that meeting?
Seek to understand before judging.
Precisely. This approach allows you to bring people together, even when delivering difficult news, without resorting to damaging assumptions or sugarcoating that ultimately doesn't help anyone. It builds trust through honesty and care.
Okay, that's incredibly valuable. So we've covered energized play, power, and people. Now let's move into part 2. Unblock overcoming obstacles. And we start with a really common one, uncertainty. Seek clarity.
Yes, uncertainty. The author recounts watching that viral video, How Bad Do You Want It? You know, the one with the guru nearly drowning a young man.
Oh, yeah, that intense one.
Right. Despite its unsettling nature, the author initially resonated with its work harder, want it more message when he was really struggling with profound procrastination while trying to start his business.
He felt stuck.
Totally stuck. But what he later realized is that procrastination's deeper cause often isn't laziness at all. It's frequently what he calls uncertainty paralysis.
Uncertainty
Yeah,
paralysis.
that overwhelming feeling when you're just bogged down by too many unknowns or the sheer complexity of a task seems insurmountable.
I think everyone's felt that.
Absolutely. And it sets off this detrimental cycle. We start overestimating the negative consequences if things go wrong. We become hypervigilant to potential threats. We fail to recognize signals that things might actually be okay, and then we just avoid the decision or task entirely, which of course heightens anxiety and fuels even more procrastination.
The cycle feeds itself, so how do we break it?
The good news is this cycle can be broken, often by asking just a few well-placed questions that bring clarity. The first crucial question is asking why. Commander's intent.
Commander's intent? That sounds military.
It is. It comes from the U.S. Army's 1982 Field Manual. They realized that focusing too much on the detailed how of a mission was often counterproductive because, as the famous Prussian Field Marshal Moltke the Elder said, no plan survives first contact with the enemy.
Things always change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Commander's intent radically shifted the focus to the overarching why, the purpose of the mission.
Okay, so what does Commander's intent actually involve?
It clearly identifies three things: the purpose behind the operation, the desired end state, what success looks like, and the key tasks needed to get there. But crucially, it gives the troops on the ground the flexibility to adapt their how when the initial plans inevitably go awry, as long as they stay true to the why.
Can you give an example of using Commander's intent?
D-Day in 1944 is actually a powerful real-world example. Despite incredibly intricate plans, almost everything went wrong. Initially, paratroopers landed in the wrong places, units got mixed up, chaos reigned. But because the overall purpose of the invasion, secure the beachhead, establish a foothold, was so crystal clear to everyone, the troops adapted on the fly, improvised, and ultimately achieved the strategic objectives. It was, as historians say, a victory of Commander's intent.
Wow. So clarity on the why enabled flexibility in the how. How can we apply that personally?
The author suggests consistently asking yourself, what is the true purpose behind this task or project, before you dive in? He gives his own example. For years, his superficial goal of getting six-pack abs consistently failed.
Relatable.
Totally. But when he reframed the goal to the deeper why, which for him was maintaining a healthy and balanced physique and lifestyle, his approach fundamentally changed and became much more sustainable. Clarifying the purpose clarified the necessary actions.
Finding the deeper meaning.
Yeah.
Right. And if Commander's intent gives us the overall direction, sometimes we need to dig even deeper into why we're doing something, right?
Exactly. That's where a technique like the 5 whys comes in. This was famously used by Sakichi Toyoda, the founder of Toyota, to eliminate errors on their production lines.
The 5 whys, how does it work?
You just ask why 5 times in succession to get to the root cause of a problem. For example, maybe a machine broke down. Why? Because a part failed. Why? Because it wasn't lubricated. Why? Because the maintenance schedule wasn't followed. Why? Because the staff are overworked. Why? Because there's a terrible culture prioritizing speed over maintenance. You dig down.
Getting past the surface symptoms.
Precisely. And the author suggests a twist. Use the 5 whys to determine if a task is even worth doing in the first place. If you ask why 5 times about a task, and all the answers lead back to your ultimate deeply held purpose or values, then it's probably worth your energy. If not, maybe it's time to reconsider or delegate it.
That's a great filter. Okay, so we've asked why. Now we move to asking what.
Defining your goals. This tackles the uncertainty over the specific actions needed, right? Exactly. That paralysis that comes from not knowing what's actually expected. Think of that awkward episode of The Office where Jim is asked for a rundown and has no idea what it means, leading to total inaction and embarrassment.
Yeah, it's that feeling of, I don't even know where to start.
Precisely. And while traditional SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, can be effective for some.
They can also feel rigid.
Yeah, they can be too focused on external outcomes, feel very rigid, and paradoxically, quite demotivating if you're already struggling with procrastination or uncertainty. If you don't hit the M or the T, you feel like a failure.
So what's the alternative?
The author suggests a more feel-good alternative he calls NICE goals.
Nice goals. Okay, what does NICE stand for?
It stands for near term. Something achievable in the immediate future, like within days or weeks, not months away. Input-based. They focus on your effort and actions, like spend 30 minutes reading chapter 5, not just the external outcome, like get an A on the test. Controllable. They are squarely within your direct power to influence. You control the input, not always the outcome. Energizing. They should inherently boost your mood as you make progress because you're focusing on what you can do.
Ah, so focusing on the effort you put in, which you control, rather than just the result, which you might not.
Exactly. These goals are designed to provide energy and a sense of accomplishment without ruining your motivation if you don't hit some external target perfectly. They build momentum.
Okay, I like that. Then, to proactively tackle potential problems before they happen, there's the crystal ball method, troubleshooting.
Yes, this is like doing a pre-mortem before you even start.
Yeah.
You basically look into your imaginary crystal ball and envision how things might realistically go wrong with this task or project.
So you anticipate the roadblocks.
Exactly. Ask yourself two key questions. What are all the things that could realistically go wrong here? And then, crucially, what would I actually do if that specific thing happened?
Plan B, Plan C.
Precisely. This simple exercise allows you to anticipate problems and plan for them, which reduces anxiety significantly. It reinforces Eisenhower's famous quote, "No battle was ever won according to plan, but no battle was ever won without one." Planning for contingencies is key.
Makes sense. Our final question for clarity is asking when. Managing your time. This tackles that feeling of time scarcity.
Yes, that feeling Oliver Burkeman describes as time already running out. The sheer volume of daily life maintenance, chores, errands, admin consumes hours, making focused work time feel incredibly scarce. And that feeling often fuels procrastination. I don't have enough time to even start this big thing.
Right. So how do we address the when?
One powerful technique is using implementation intentions. This comes from Peter Gollwitzer's groundbreaking research. He found that if you simply decide in advance when and where you'll do something, you're significantly more likely to actually follow through.
Just making that specific plan makes it more likely to happen.
Much more likely. A 2015 Boston University study using Fitbits found this clearly. Participants who were given prompts to identify specific time slots for exercise during their week increased their daily steps by an impressive 2,000 compared to a control group.
Wow. Just from planning the when.
Yeah. The formula is beautifully simple. If when X happens, then I will Y. For instance, when I finish my morning coffee X, I will immediately spend 15 minutes working on the report Y. Or, if it's 2 p.m. X, then I will take 5 deep breaths before checking email Y. These specific triggers strengthen the mental link and make the behavior more automatic.
Creating triggers for action.
Okay.
And then there's the more structured approach, time blocking.
Yes. This might sound counterintuitive to some. Doesn't structure reduce freedom? But the argument here is that structuring your time actually gives you more freedom, not less, because you're making conscious choices about how you spend it. Think of it like budgeting your money, but for your time.
Okay, how does it work? The author suggests levels.
Yeah, he suggests a 3-level system. You can choose how deep you go. Level 1 is simple. Just time block those specific tasks you tend to avoid. Dedicate a precise slot, like 9:00 a.m. to 10:00 a.m. on Tuesday, solely for tackling your email inbox. Put it in the calendar like an appointment. Level 2 goes further. Time block most of your day. You essentially transform your to-do list into a detailed schedule. For example, 7-8 a.m. exercise, 8-9 a.m. breakfast and planning, 9-11 a.m. deep work on Project X, etc. Level 3 is the most comprehensive. Time block your ideal week. This involves proactively planning all aspects of your life work, hobbies, family time, exercise, rest in advance, creating a template for how you'd ideally like to spend your time.
That level 3 sounds intense. Is it meant to be rigid?
Not at all. He stresses that the ideal week is meant to be a flexible aspiration, a guideline, not a rigid prison you beat yourself up over if you deviate. Life happens. But having the template helps you make more conscious choices.
And the importance of scheduling breaks fits in here too, right?
Absolutely. The author learned this invaluable lesson firsthand in the ER from that mentor he mentioned, Dr. Adcock. She enforced mandatory breaks every 4 hours, even amidst the absolute chaos of the emergency room.
Mandatory breaks, even in an ER.
Yes. Her wisdom was clear and profound. You can't be of any use to anyone if you're exhausted. For her, breaks weren't a luxury. They were an absolute necessity, a non-negotiable part of doing the job well and sustainably. You have to schedule them in.
Powerful lesson.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've tackled uncertainty. The next major emotional blocker is fear. Find courage.
Yes, fear. The compelling documentary Free Solo gave us a glimpse of Alex Honnold climbing El Capitan without ropes. Part of his incredible feat was attributed to an underactive amygdala.
The brain's fear center.
Exactly. His brain threat detector was turned way down, meaning he simply felt less fear than most people would. For the rest of us, though, that amygdala generates intense fear responses: fear of rejection, fear of public speaking, social anxiety, fear of failure on creative projects. The list goes on.
And that fear holds us back.
Massively. The author points out a crucial truth. It isn't lack of talent or inspiration that's holding you back, it's fear. Fear fundamentally blocks productivity. It impedes the release of those feel-good hormones we talked about. It clouds our thinking, making procrastination a completely natural, understandable response.
So the goal isn't to eliminate fear entirely, because that seems impossible for most of us.
Yeah, exactly. The goal isn't to magically cure fear. That's often unrealistic. The goal is to develop the courage to face it head-on and move past it, despite its presence. To act even when you feel afraid.
Okay, so how do we start developing that courage? First step seems to be understanding the fear itself.
Right. But identifying our fears can be surprisingly hard. We're masters at rationalizing our inaction. We tell ourselves, oh, I just haven't found the right idea yet, or I just haven't had the time, when deep down we're afraid.
So how do we uncover the real fear?
A powerful technique is the emotion label. First, ask yourself honestly, what specifically am I afraid of here? Try to dig deep beyond the surface excuse to uncover core vulnerabilities or insecurities. Am I afraid of looking stupid? Afraid of not being good enough? Afraid of success, even?
Okay, name the fear. Then what?
Then ask, where does this fear really come from? Try to categorize it. Is it a me reason related to your own perceived lack of ability? Or is it a them reason related to how you think others might react or judge you?
Me versus them. That's helpful. What if you're still struggling to pinpoint it?
Try telling the experience as if it were a fictional story about someone else. Ask yourself, if I were writing a story about someone like me in this situation, what might they be scared of? Sometimes that psychological distance provides the clarity you need.
Naming the monster makes it less scary. Okay, once we've identified the fear, how do we reduce its intensity?
Perspective is key. There's an incredible survival story about Peter DeLeo, who survived a plane crash in the Sierra Nevada mountains. He trekked for 9 days to get help, while his two companions, who had similar injuries, tragically died. What kept him going? Perspective.
Perspective in that situation.
He refused to catastrophize. Fear often makes us catastrophize. Minor setbacks blow up into life-destroying failures in our minds. We need tools for cognitive reappraisal, changing our interpretation of the situation to feel better emotionally.
And one tool for that is the 1-1-10 rule.
Exactly. It's beautifully simple. For any stressful situation that's triggering fear, just ask yourself 3 questions. Will this matter in 10 minutes? Will this matter in 10 weeks? Will this matter in 10 years?
Okay, give me an example.
All right, say you got rejected by someone you asked out. In 10 minutes, it feels awful. In 10 weeks, it probably still stings a bit. But in 10 years, highly unlikely to matter much, right?
Yeah.
Or you didn't get a job you wanted. Devastating now? Maybe annoying in 10 weeks, but in 10 years, it's probably just a minor blip, maybe even a funny story or something that led you down a better path.
It shrinks the problem down to its actual size.
Precisely. It provides invaluable perspective, helping you recognize the true, often much smaller, magnitude of the problem, and effectively reduces fear's paralyzing intensity.
Okay, building on that, sometimes the obstacle isn't just pure fear, but that nagging feeling of self-doubt. That's where the confidence equation comes in.
Yes. The equation is confidence equals your belief in your ability divided by the standard you think is needed. Self-doubt spikes when your belief in your ability feels way lower than the standard you perceive is required for the task.
Right, that gap feels huge.
Exactly. Now, the key insight here isn't to try and magically build more confidence when you're already deep in doubt that's incredibly hard. Instead, you ask a different question. How confident do I actually need to feel to just get started with this? Could I simply get started even though I'm feeling unconfident right now?
Lower the bar for starting.
Exactly. For most day-to-day tasks, the answer is often a resounding yes. You probably don't need supreme confidence to just open the document or make the first phone call. Often the biggest hurdle is just making that initial start, and confidence can actually build after you start, not before.
Get the ball rolling despite the doubt. Okay. Now, to truly overcome fear, especially that common fear of being seen or judged, like giving presentations, publishing work, going to parties, there's the Batman effect.
Yes, that Batman effect. This concept gained popular traction with the singer Adele. Apparently inspired by Beyoncé's famous alter ego, Sasha Fierce, Adele created her own stage persona, Sasha Carter, to help her be fearless, unapologetically bold on stage.
So she stepped into a different persona to manage her stage fright.
Exactly. It's a powerful form of psychological distancing from the fear. You separate yourself from the performer.
And this relates to the spotlight effect too, right?
Yes, perfectly. The author tells this story about making an embarrassing joke at a party. He felt paralyzed by embarrassment afterwards, convinced he'd alienated all his friends.
We've all been there.
Totally. But later, a friend genuinely revealed she hadn't even noticed the joke. This is the classic spotlight effect, researched by Thomas Gilovich. We vastly overestimate how much others notice or judge our actions, our appearance, our mistakes.
We think the spotlight is on us, but everyone else is worried about their own spotlight.
Exactly. People are often anxious about how the tiniest details are likely to come across, Gilovich says. But the liberating truth is, most people are primarily concerned with themselves. Realizing this, adopting the mindset of no one really cares that much, can be incredibly freeing. Who cares if your first YouTube videos are terrible, or if you look awkward at your first salsa class? This realization significantly reduces anxiety-related procrastination.
Okay, so the Batman effect study itself, what did that show?
Right, the study by Rachel White at the University of Pennsylvania involved 4 to 6-year-olds asked to concentrate on a boring task. One group was told to imagine themselves as a superhero like Batman or Dora the Explorer while doing it.
And the superhero kids?
They exhibited significantly better perseverance and focus compared to the control groups. It's a powerful demonstration that adopting an alter ego, even imaginatively, can help overcome challenges, including fear. You can use this. Maybe adopt a confident persona for a specific task, or use mantras like, I am capable, I am focused, I can handle this, to remind yourself of that inner strength.
Use your inner Batman. Love it. Okay, our third and final major blocker to productivity is inertia. Get started.
Inertia. Good old Newton's first law of motion. An object at rest stays at rest, while an object in motion stays in motion unless acted on by an external imbalanced force.
And that applies to us procrastinators.
Perfectly. It takes way more energy to get started than it does to keep going. When you're doing nothing, it's remarkably easy to just continue doing nothing. That couch gravity is strong. Inertia is that resistance to starting.
So how do we overcome that initial resistance?
The primary solution lies in reducing the friction, making it easier to start. This means strategically engineering your environment to remove any obstacles, even tiny ones, that stand between you and your goal.
Make the desired action easier.
Exactly. Remember that Dutch shopping study from 2020? Supermarket trolleys were fitted with green inlays specifically for vegetables, and signs saying most customers pick at least 7 vegetables.
And that worked.
Amazingly well. It led to a remarkable 50% increase in vegetable purchases compared to standard trolleys. The insight: if you're constantly reminded, prompted, and the path is made easier, it takes far less mental energy to make the desired choice.
Reduce friction for good habits, and maybe add friction for bad ones.
Precisely. That leads to the next experiment. Add friction to distractions. Remember the sports journalist David Lengel, who bought an old Nokia 3310?
Yeah, to escape his smartphone addiction.
Right. By adding massive friction, getting rid of the distracting device, he found he watched proper TV, read more books, and genuinely enjoyed shared experiences more.
So how can we apply that without buying a dumb phone?
You can uninstall addictive social media apps from your phone, forcing yourself to use the clunkier web interface if you really need it. Log out of distracting websites automatically so you have that 30-second login barrier. Or even use browser extensions that artificially increase the loading time for certain sites, maybe displaying a message like take a deep breath before the feed loads. Just adding small delays can disrupt the automatic habit.
Clever ways to make distractions harder to access. Okay, what about that feeling of just, ugh, I can't be bothered?
Ah, yes, the classic CBA can't be arsed feeling. That's where a beautifully simple yet profoundly effective strategy comes in, the 5-minute rule.
Just commit to 5 minutes.
That's it. Commit to working on whatever task you're avoiding for just 5 minutes. The rationale is simple. Taking that very first step is often the hardest part. 5 minutes feels infinitely less daunting than committing to, say, write this entire report or clean the whole house.
And does it usually lead to more?
The author finds that an impressive 80% of the time, once he starts, he keeps going well beyond the 5 minutes. The inertia is broken. But, and this is crucial for the remaining 20%, he genuinely allows himself to stop after 5 minutes if he still doesn't feel like continuing. That permission to stop is essential for the rule's magic to remain effective. It keeps it low pressure.
So it lowers the activation energy needed to start. Makes sense. Okay, once we've managed to start, how do we keep the momentum going, especially on bigger projects? This involves taking action, the first step.
Right, and here we can leverage the advice of Matt Morecarry, a renowned Silicon Valley coach. He's known for helping leaders define crystal clear next action steps.
Next action steps.
Yeah. His method brilliantly shifts focus away from an intimidating long-term goal, like launch new product line, to the absolute smallest, most concrete, immediately achievable step, like draft email to Sarah about initial ideas. It creates a subtle layer of self-deception, he says, that calms your nerves by making the overwhelming feel manageable. What is the very next physical action required?
Break it down ridiculously small.
Exactly. So you define your next action step. For studying, it isn't study chapter 7, it's get textbook, open book to page 103. For going to the gym, it's not do a full workout, it's put on gym shoes. For writing, it's turn on laptop, open the document. It meticulously breaks down daunting tasks into tiny, non-threatening starts, making initiation almost effortless.
Taking the thinking out of starting.
Okay.
And once we're moving, how do we sustain that momentum?
Track your progress. Seeing that you're making headway, however small, is incredibly motivating. Think of the fantasy author Brandon Sanderson. He apparently suffers from writer's block frequently, but he keeps himself writing consistently by tracking his daily word count, aiming for a minimum like 2,000 words.
The tracking keeps them accountable and shows progress.
Exactly. Visualizing your progress, maybe coloring in bar charts for modules you've studied, or ticking off many tasks on a project list offers tangible evidence of movement. It reminds you are making progress, however daunting the overall task feels, and that provides consistent fuel.
Okay. Finally, to truly support yourself. Sustaining momentum, especially when inertia inevitably strikes again, we need support structures, right?
Absolutely. We have to recognize that procrastination isn't always something we can consciously control just through willpower. Self-support is absolutely key, particularly through strategic accountability.
Which leads to, find an accountability buddy.
Yes. There's even a huge Reddit forum, Our Get Motivated Buddies, with nearly 180,000 members, specifically dedicated to connecting people for mutual accountability on various goals.
Wow. Why is having a buddy so effective?
It basically weaponizes our innate sense of social duty. As the author puts it, humans are social creatures and we're desperate not to let one another down. It's simply much harder to skip that gym session or blow off that writing hour if you know a friend is waiting for you or expecting an update.
Using social pressure for good, how do you set it up effectively?
The process is pretty simple. 1. Find your buddy, maybe someone with a shared outlook, or even a stranger working on the same goal. 2. Discuss your goals and expectations openly. What do you each need? 3. Agree on a specific accountability process where you have weekly check-in calls, daily texts, monthly coffee meetings. The key is consistency.
Regular check-ins are crucial. Okay. And what about when we inevitably slip up, when we do procrastinate despite our best efforts?
This is so important. You need to forgive yourself. A fascinating study from Concordia University found that students who forgave themselves for procrastinating on one exam actually studied more effectively for subsequent exams.
So beating yourself up is counterproductive.
Completely counterproductive. That self-flagellation, telling yourself how lazy or useless you are, actually worsens procrastination. It creates this toxic negative feedback loop of shame and avoidance.
So how do we practice self-forgiveness in those moments?
The author suggests the find the win method. Instead of dwelling solely on what you didn't do, consciously acknowledge something you did accomplish, however small. Say to yourself, okay, I didn't do X, but I did do Y.
Give me some examples.
I didn't go for that early morning workout, but I did get an extra hour of much-needed sleep, which is also important for my health. Or I didn't finish writing that report today, but I had a really lovely, energizing catch-up with a colleague that strengthened our working relationship. Or I didn't finish that job application, but I spent quality time connecting with my grandma, which aligns with my value of family.
Acknowledge the slip-up, but pivot to a positive.
Exactly. It shifts your focus to small wins, helping you break free from the guilt spiral and conquer inertia. As the author says, procrastination isn't something we can always control. Forgiving ourselves, however, is something we can control, and is a powerful tool for moving forward.
That's a really compassionate and practical approach. Okay, fantastic. We've energized, we've unblocked. Now for our final crucial section, part 3, sustain avoiding burnout.
Yes, sustaining the energy. We begin with overexertion burnouts. Conserve energy. The author shares his own painful experience with a profound burnout he hit around Christmas Eve 2020.
Even while doing work he loved, he was running his own business then, right?
Exactly. Even while working his supposed dream job, he felt completely sapped. What was once enjoyable had become utterly draining.
So burnout isn't just about hating your job.
Not at all. His mother, who's a psychiatrist, offered him crucial insight. Burnout isn't just for people working ridiculously long hours in jobs they despise. The World Health Organization actually redefined burnout as an occupational phenomenon.
How do they define it?
It's characterized by three things. One, feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion.
Yeah.
Two, increased mental distance from one's job, or feelings of negativism or cynicism related to it. And three, reduced professional efficacy.
Okay.
And his mother emphasized, crucially, it isn't necessarily related to the number of hours you're working. It's about how you feel. The core problem leading to this type of burnout is often doing too much, too fast, trying to sprint all the time.
Running on empty.
Precisely. And the profound solution, learn to conserve your energy. As the author puts it, do less so that you can unlock more.
Do less to achieve more. That sounds paradoxical again.
It does, but think about LeBron James, the basketball player. He's a fantastic, almost poetic example of this.
So.
Despite being one of the fastest sprinters in the NBA, if you track his movement over a whole game, he's paradoxically one of the slowest players overall on the court. He spends a remarkable 74.4% of his time on court just walking.
Walking. During an NBA game.
Walking. He conserves his energy strategically. And his astonishing longevity, playing at an elite level for over 19 years, often 70-plus games per season, is directly attributed to this mastery of energy conservation. He knows exactly when to sprint and, just as importantly, when to walk.
Pace yourself like LeBron. Okay. So how do we apply that principle of doing less practically? The power of saying no seems essential.
Absolutely essential. Steve Jobs famously embraced this. He once said, "Innovation is saying no to 1,000 things." He was apparently just as proud of the projects Apple didn't pursue as the ones they did.
Saying no creates focus.
Exactly. But we often fall into the trap of overcommitment, don't we? It's easy to say yes to things weeks or months in advance, looking at an empty calendar and thinking, oh, I'll definitely have time then. But our future selves are usually just as busy, if not busier.
The eternal optimism of the future calendar.
Totally. So a practical tool to combat this is the energy investment portfolio.
Okay, how does that work?
Create two lists. List A is for your big picture dreams, hopes, and ambitions, your long-term goals. List B is for the active projects you are currently investing significant energy in, like right now, this week.
Okay, long-term versus active, then what?
Then, apply Derek Sivers' powerful hell yeah or no rule to any new potential commitment that comes your way. If your gut reaction isn't an immediate, enthusiastic, hell yeah, I want to do that, then it should probably be a polite but firm no.
Reject almost everything.
He suggests rejecting maybe 95% of potential commitments. And always remind yourself of the opportunity costs. When you say yes to something new, what are you implicitly saying no to? Is it quality time with your kids, catching up with friends, crucial sleep? Making those trade-offs visible helps you say no more strategically.
That's a good check. And there's also the 6-week trap to avoid.
Yes, this concept comes from productivity expert Juliet Funt. It describes that tendency we have to look at our calendar 6 weeks out, see all that lovely empty space, and instinctively overcommit, thinking we'll have loads of capacity then.
But the space always fills up.
It inevitably fills up. Her brilliant solution is a simple question. Before committing to anything more than a few weeks out, ask yourself, would I be truly excited about this commitment if it was happening tomorrow? If the answer is anything less than an enthusiastic yes, don't say yes. Protect your future self's time and energy.
Would I do it tomorrow? Great filter. Okay, another drain on energy is distraction. So we need to resist distraction, maximizing focus.
Yes, and it's vital to recognize that humans are inherently bad at multitasking, despite what we like to tell ourselves. This is due to what scientists call switching costs.
Switching costs.
Yeah, the significant cognitive and temporal resources our brains expend every time we attempt to switch focus between different tasks. It's mentally taxing.
Oh.
A 2012 study by Adler and Bembananfitch starkly demonstrated this. A group asked to multitask had higher error rates and took significantly longer to complete tasks compared to a group that focused on one thing at a time sequentially.
So single tasking is actually more efficient.
Much more efficient and less draining, which again reinforces the strategy. Add friction to technology. Make those distractions harder to access.
Like the Nokia phone guy, uninstalling apps, logging out.
Exactly. Those small barriers create crucial moments of intentionality, disrupting the mindless drift towards distraction.
But distractions are inevitable, right? We can't eliminate them entirely.
True. And trying to achieve perfect, unbroken focus is unrealistic and sets you up for failure. So the more sustainable strategy is to correct course, embrace, begin again.
How does that work? The airplane metaphor.
Right. Think of an airplane flying from London to New York. It's constantly being blown slightly off course by winds. It doesn't just give up and fly to Buenos Aires. Instead, it makes thousands of tiny, almost imperceptible course corrections throughout the journey to stay on track.
So getting distracted is like being blown off course by wind.
Exactly. Give yourself permission to be distracted momentarily, as long as you practice making those small, consistent course corrections back toward your intended focus. The meditation mantra, begin again, is incredibly powerful here. Got distracted. Okay, notice it, gently let it go, and begin again. A single minute of focused work after a distraction is infinitely better than giving up entirely. Don't fail with abandon just because your focus wavered.
Gently guide yourself back. Okay, this brings us to breaking more. The necessity of rest. This feels related to the LeBron James walking idea.
Very related. There's this widespread misconception that truly productive people chain themselves to their desk for hours on end without breaks. But the science shows the opposite is true.
Like that hand grip study.
Exactly. The 2008 study by Tyler and Burns, they had students do a mentally draining task first, then a physical one, holding a hand grip. The students who took a full 10-minute break between the tasks could hold the hand grip for an average of 72 seconds. Those who only took 1 to 3 minute breaks could only hold it for 43 seconds.
Wow, that's a huge difference from just a longer break.
Isn't it? The clear insight is that longer, quality breaks are crucial for combating mental fatigue and truly replenishing cognitive resources. Short breaks don't cut it as well after demanding tasks.
And that Drogium group study found a specific ratio.
Yeah, they tracked workers' habits and found that the most productive employees tended to work intensely for about 52 minutes, followed by a proper 17-minute break away from their screens. Embracing doing nothing or something completely different for significant chunks of time isn't a luxury. It's a strategic necessity for sustained performance.
So the practical advice is schedule your breaks. Treat them like important meetings.
Absolutely, those self-regulatory exertions, the mental effort involved in controlling your behavior, focusing your thoughts, making decisions, they draw on a limited resource that gets depleted. Breaks are precisely what replenish this resource. Remember Dr. Adcock in the ER?
Enforcing mandatory breaks.
Exactly. Her mantra was simple. No one's going to die because you were having lunch. Breaks, for her, were an absolute necessity, non-negotiable. So the practical takeaway is time block those breaks, maybe 15-20 minutes every hour or two, right into your calendar. Treat them as seriously as any other appointment.
Make rest non-negotiable. Okay. And in a refreshing twist, the author also suggests we should embrace energizing distractions. Not all distractions are bad.
Not at all. Think of the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh's concept of an awakening bell, using random sounds during the day as cues to just pause, breathe, and become present for a moment. That's a kind of distraction, but a positive one.
A mindful distraction.
Right. And some distractions, like genuinely connecting with friends or colleagues, can actually bring immense positive energy back into your day. The author learned this in university. He used to study with his dorm room door propped open.
Inviting interruptions.
Basically, allowing friends to pop in freely for quick chats. He found that this quality time with friends, these small, spontaneous social interactions, were far more energizing in the long run than trying to maintain a rigid, perfectly efficient, but isolating studying schedule. Sometimes the inefficient connection is the most productive thing you can do for your energy levels.
Connection over pure efficiency sometimes. Okay, that covers overexertion. Next up, we tackle depletion burnouts. Recharge energy. This sounds different.
It is. This type of burnout isn't necessarily from sprinting too hard, but from failing to truly recharge your batteries effectively. The prevalent problem here is often doom scrolling and what the author terms unrestful rest.
Unrestful rest, like scrolling social media when you're tired.
Exactly. Mindlessly reloading social media feeds, endlessly searching Netflix for something to watch, but never choosing. Consuming negativity online during your downtime. This leads to a deeper, more insidious form of burnout that arises simply from not giving yourself enough true time or space to genuinely rejuvenate.
How can we tell if our rest is unrestful?
Try a simple personal experiment. Make 2 lists. List 1, things I tend to do when I'm feeling drained. For example, scroll Instagram, watch random YouTube shorts, zone out to TV. List 2, things that actually energize me and make me feel better. For example, pick a walk in nature, play guitar, call a friend, do some gentle yoga, read a good book, listen to music.
And compare the lists.
Yeah. The painful truth for many of us is that our automatic go-to ways of resting, list 1, are often not genuinely restful or restorative at all, list 2. They just numb us or even drain us further.
Okay, so how do we find truly restorative activities?
One powerful way is recharging creatively. Calm activities. Psychologists have identified 4 distinct characteristics that make creative activities particularly effective for true relaxation and rejuvenation. They call them calm characteristics.
Column. All A. What does that stand for? Competence. The activity allows you to feel a sense of mastery or gain new skills, even small ones, like learning a new chord on the guitar or writing a short poem. Autonomy. You have strong sense of ownership and control over the activity. You choose what to do and how to do it, like painting whatever you want, however you want. Liberty. It allows you to genuinely disengage from work concerns, feeling a sense of freedom and mental space. Mellow. It's generally a relaxed, low-stakes activity that helps you escape work stress without adding new performance pressures. Okay, column. Competence, autonomy, liberty, mellow. That makes sense. So this leads to the power of calm hobbies.
Exactly. Think of public figures known for their hobbies, like George W. Bush or King Charles III painting or Taylor Swift knitting. The defining characteristic of a true calm hobby is its low stakes. There's no win or lose state. It's not goal-oriented in the same way work is, and it's certainly not done for business or direct personal advancement. It's done for its own sake.
Just for enjoyment or restoration, how do we maximize their benefit?
Establish clear boundaries. Dedicate specific times for your hobby. Maybe have a dedicated physical space for it if possible. And absolutely turn off work notifications during that time. The core purpose is to maintain areas of your life that exist purely for intrinsic joy, completely separate from the pressures of achievement.
Protect that non-productive space.
Okay.
And as a complement to ongoing hobbies, the author suggests calm projects. How are they different?
Unlike open-ended hobbies, calm projects have a definite beginning and end. Think about learning a specific song on the piano, building a model airplane, completing a specific knitting pattern, or maybe even researching a topic you're curious about just for fun.
So they offer a sense of completion.
Exactly. They still build competence and autonomy, the C and A of CLM, but they also provide a satisfying sense of accomplishment once completed, which can be really energizing. For the author, after leaving medical school, learning about productivity itself actually became his personal creative project, exploring and learning without the professional pressures attached.
Finding a project outside of work. Got it. Another major way to recharge is naturally, right? Recharging naturally. The healing power of greenery.
Oh, the evidence for this is overwhelming. Roger Ulrich's seminal research back in the 80s is a classic example. He studied hospital patients recovering from surgery.
What did he find?
Patients whose windows overlooked trees healed, on average, a day faster, needed significantly less pain medication, and had fewer post-operative complications than patients whose windows faced a brick wall.
Just from having a view of trees, that's incredible.
Isn't it? And similar effects were found in a Swedish hospital study with heart surgery patients. Those given a simulated window view of a tranquil water and tree scene experienced less anxiety and needed fewer pain meds. Nature undeniably helps us heal, lowers stress levels, and profoundly rejuvenates our concentration. As the author states simply, nature replenishes our cognitive abilities and boosts our energy.
Okay, but what if you live in a city or work in an office with no view? Do you need a whole forest?
Not at all. The great news is you can bring in nature, even tiny amounts. Ulrich's research showed that even just looking at photos of trees has significant positive effects.
Even pictures help.
Yes. And another study showed that taking just a 40-second micro break to view a green roof versus a concrete one led to fewer errors and more consistent focus afterwards. Even listening to natural soundscapes, like rainforest sounds, for just 7 minutes has been shown to boost energy for hours afterwards.
So small doses work? Practical steps?
Super simple stuff. Get a few indoor plants for your desk or home, put up some nature photos or use them as your screensaver, listen to nature sounds during your breaks, tiny inputs, significant benefits.
Easy enough. Another simple yet incredibly powerful natural recharger is just to take a walk.
Absolutely. So many historical figures known for their creativity and deep thinking. Steve Jobs, Virginia Woolf, Henry David Thoreau emphasized the profound benefits of walking for clarity and insight.
And we don't need to obsess about 10,000 steps.
Probably not. While movement is great, the rejuvenating power often comes from the walk itself, not an arbitrary target. A 2011 study confirmed that walking significantly improved mental health. Interestingly, they found park walks were particularly relaxing. But whether you walked alone in a park or with a friend on a busy street, the revitalizing effects were consistent.
So just get out and walk.
Pretty much. It's simple rejuvenation. A short walk, maybe just 10 or 15 minutes, ideally with no strict time limit, distance goal, or particular destination in mind. Just wander and let your mind wander too.
Letting the mind wander, that leads to the final recharging strategy. Recharging mindlessly, the value of doing nothing. This feels counterintuitive again.
It does in our hyper-productive culture. But we need to acknowledge the genuine need for truly mindless recharging sometimes. There are times when binge-watching a familiar, comforting TV show is exactly what your brain needs to actually switch off. Mindful activities, by their very nature, are mindful. They still require focus and mental energy. Sometimes you just need oblivion.
Oblivion. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does let your mind wander fit in here?
Think about the popular Reddit forum, Our Shower Thoughts. It perfectly illustrates what the author calls the shower principle.
Getting great ideas in the shower.
Exactly. Those profound, unexpected thoughts and connections that often pop into our heads when our minds are relaxed and wandering, like in the shower, or while washing dishes or driving.
What's happening in the brain then?
Neuroscience tells us our default mode network, DMN, becomes highly active when we're doing nothing, mentally demanding. The DMN governs things like retrieving memories, daydreaming, imagining the future, connecting disparate ideas. It's actually crucial for creativity and problem solving, but it's far less active when we're engaged in focused, mentally draining tasks.
But modern life doesn't really encourage mind wandering, does it?
Not at all. It's often equated with wasting time or being lazy. The solution, the author argues, is to actively schedule moments of nothingness. Maybe dedicate an evening of oblivion once a week, or consciously choose to do chores without headphones or podcasts, just letting your mind drift. It might feel unproductive in the moment, but it can be surprisingly effective for solving problems and generating new ideas when you're stuck.
Schedule time to do nothing. Okay. And finally, to truly prevent depletion burnout, we need to embrace the write-off principle. Sounds German.
It does. It actually comes from the author's wise flatmate, Molly. When she saw him exhausted but still trying to force himself to work, she'd often tell him, with remarkable simplicity, if you're tired, why don't you just write off the evening and rest?
Write off the evening, like give up on productivity.
Exactly. The read-off principle, his playful spelling of write-off, is about granting yourself explicit permission to completely write off a day or an evening, intentionally stepping away from achieving anything productive without feeling guilty about it.
That guilt is hard to overcome, though. We're so conditioned to value self-control, aren't we? We equate rest with laziness.
We absolutely are. But the crucial insight here is that sustainable productivity requires strategic rest. As the author puts it, by doing less today, you can do more of what matters tomorrow. Writing off that evening allows for a genuine reset and recharge, preventing the deeper burnout that comes from constantly running on fumes. It's a strategic retreat, not a defeat.
Doing less today to do more tomorrow. Okay, powerful concept. Now for our final type of burnout, misalignment burnouts. Aligning your life. It sounds even deeper.
It is. This is perhaps the most insidious form of burnout. It doesn't necessarily come from overwork or lack of rest, but from spending your precious time and energy on goals and activities that simply don't match your true sense of self, your core values, or what genuinely matters to you.
So you could be achieving things, but feeling empty or drained because they aren't the right things for you.
Precisely. It leads to feeling profoundly drained, worn down, and cynical, even if you're technically succeeding by external standards.
Is there research on this?
Yes. Ken and Sheldon's study of hikers on the Pacific Crest Trail is relevant here. He observed hikers experiencing significant drops in intrinsic motivation during that grueling 2,650-mile trek.
Understandable.
Right. But his research on the relative autonomy continuum, that spectrum of motivation we talked about earlier, showed something interesting. While external motivations, doing it for others' approval, and introjected motivations, doing it out of guilt or obligation, could sustain effort for a while.
Yeah.
Only identified motivation doing something because you personally truly value the goal it helps you achieve. And intrinsic motivation, loving the process itself, correlated with greater happiness and well-being on the trail. External and guilt-based motivations often led to burnout, even if they finished.
So the why behind the goal matters hugely for sustainability and happiness.
Hugely. The clear solution for misalignment burnout is to consciously work out what really matters to you at your core, and then systematically align your behavior, your goals, and how you spend your time with those values.
Okay, how do we start figuring out what truly matters? That sounds like a big question.
It is. One powerful way is looking to the long-term horizon, your legacy. It sounds a bit morbid, but thinking about the end can clarify the present.
I know so.
Emily Lycan's study after the 1994 Los Angeles earthquake is fascinating. She studied Veterans Affairs employees who experienced this sudden mortality threat. Afterwards, they reported valuing intrinsic goals like strong friendships, personal growth, community contribution, significantly more than extrinsic ones like career advancement or material possessions compared to before the quake.
Facing mortality shifted their values.
Exactly. Thinking about death, paradoxically, can provide a powerful and clear perspective on what truly constitutes a meaningful life now.
So how do we use this insight without waiting for an earthquake?
The eulogy method is a fantastic exercise for this. It was popularized by Lee Penn at Stanford Business School. The exercise is simply to write your own ideal obituary as if you were looking back from age 90.
Write your own obituary. Wow.
Yeah. But focus not just on achievements, but on the person you aspire to have been. Your character, the quality of your relationships, the positive impact you had on others. The author's iteration suggests imagining your funeral. What would your family, friends, and coworkers genuinely say about you? What would you want them to say? Then, crucially, apply those desired attributes and values to how you live your life today.
Working backwards from the end to define the present? Okay, powerful. Now, bringing the focus closer, we looking to the medium-term horizon, concrete values.
Yes, this is about making those big picture values more tangible. Values affirmation interventions are a proven technique here. They involve identifying your core personal values, things like creativity, connection, learning, security, adventure, and then continually reflecting on how you're living those values.
Does just reflecting on values actually do anything?
Surprisingly, yes. Akira Miyake's study, published in the prestigious journal Science, showed that simple values affirmation exercises actually closed the significant gender achievement gap in a challenging college physics course. By having female students periodically write about what mattered most to them outside of physics, like relationships, music, social justice, it seemed to buffer them against the anxiety and stereotype threat in the male-dominated class, reminding them of their broader identity and worth. It anchored them.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so how can we identify and connect with our values more concretely?
The Wheel of Life is a powerful coaching framework for this. The author learned it in medical school. It divides life into several key segments, typically around 8 or 9, like health, often split into body, mind, soul, work, mission, money, growth, and relationships, perhaps family, romance, friends.
Okay, different life areas. Then what?
You rate how satisfied or aligned you currently feel in each area, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Then you visually color in the segments of the wheel based on your rating. This creates a quick visual snapshot of where your life feels in balance and where it feels lacking or misaligned.
See where the gaps are. Did the author use this?
Yes, he shares his own experience. Doing the wheel revealed low alignment for him in romance, physical health, body, and finding mission in his work. This powerful visual insight directly prompted him to start dating, commit to working out regularly, and courageously launch his own business, even filming his very first YouTube videos while traveling in Cambodia. It turned abstract dissatisfaction into concrete areas for action.
Turning insight into action.
Okay.
And then there's a more forward-looking exercise, the 12-month celebration.
Right, this is like a less pessimistic version of the crystal ball method we discussed earlier. You vividly envision yourself 12 months from now celebrating. What are you celebrating? What truly meaningful achievements or states of being have you reached that align with your core values?
So you picture future success based on your values.
Exactly. And then you reverse engineer it. Ask yourself, okay, to be celebrating that in 12 months, what key things do I need to do or change in the next year? And most importantly, what's the very first smallest action step I need to take, maybe even today or this week, to start moving in that direction? Is it joining that gym? Polishing your CV? Scheduling a weekly chat with your mom? It makes the future vision actionable now.
Connecting the long-term vision to immediate steps? Great. Finally, we drilled down to the short-term horizon. Daily alignment. How do we ensure our daily actions match our values?
This is where the rubber really meets the road. Anna Sutton's research from the University of Waikato found that the daily decisions we make, and whether they align with our core values, are incredibly powerful drivers of feel-good productivity and well-being.
But it's easy to let daily actions drift away from values, isn't it? So easy. We make small compromises daily that take us further away, staying late at a job that drains us but pays well, if money isn't our top value. neglecting relationships because work feels more urgent, choosing passive entertainment over activities that actually align with our values of health or creativity.
Those small daily choices add up. How can we be more intentional daily?
The author suggests the three alignment quests. This leverages the psychological fact that short-term targets are much easier to reach and feel more motivating, like a math study showed with 7 10-year-olds performing better with daily goals.
3 alignment quests. How does that work?
Choose just one subcategory from each of those main life areas, maybe health, work, and relationships, to focus on making progress in each day. Just one small quest for each.
Okay, give me an example.
For the author, one day his quest might be H, health, go to the gym. W, work, write the first draft of chapter 9. R, relationships, call grandma. Just 3 specific, achievable actions aligned with his broader values for that day.
Simple, focused, and value-driven daily targets. Exactly. A college student's quests might be H, go for a run. W, study for history exam for 1 hour. R, have coffee with Sarah. A working parent might choose H, do 10 minutes of morning stretching. W, complete the main task during focused work block. R, read a bedtime story with full attention. It keeps values front and center in your daily actions.
I love that. Very practical. And then the final idea is that this alignment process is ongoing, right? It's experimental.
Absolutely. Alignment isn't a one-time fix. It's a never-ending process of experimentation and adjustment as life changes. That's why the final strategy is alignment experiments. Think like a scientist.
Okay, how do we run an alignment experiment?
First, identify an area of your life that currently feels unfulfilling or misaligned with your values. Second, come up with a clear hypothesis. If I change one specific independent variable in my life related to this area, what effect do I predict it will have on my sense of fulfillment or energy?
Make a specific prediction about a change.
Yes. Third, execute the experiment by making a localized change. Don't quit your job entirely. Maybe try reducing hours or taking on a different type of project first. Don't switch your degree immediately. Maybe just take one new elective course in a different field. Keep the initial experiment small and contained.
Test the waters.
Exactly. Fourth, track the effects meticulously. Keep a log or journal. How does this small change affect your mood, your energy levels, your sense of alignment over a few weeks? This allows you to explore alternative paths and gather real data about what works for you without making huge, irreversible commitments prematurely. It's about continuously tweaking and refining based on your own results.
Being your own productivity scientist again.
That's the core theme running through the whole approach.
What an incredible journey we've taken today, from energizing ourselves to unblocking obstacles to sustaining our efforts through alignment. It really reframes the whole idea of productivity.
It really does. And returning to the author's initial burnout story, that awful Christmas day as a junior doctor, he ultimately realized his fundamental mistake wasn't in the specific tactics he was using, but in how he fundamentally thought about productivity itself.
He saw it as discipline and pressure.
Exactly. As a relentless cycle of discipline and pressure, rather than discovering what genuinely made him feel good, energized, and engaged.
So this deep dive and the whole philosophy it draws from, it's not really about giving you another long to-do list of productivity hacks, is it?
Not at all. It's much more about offering a different philosophy, a new way of thinking. It's about empowering you to create your own personalized productivity toolkit by becoming that amateur productivity scientist.
Trying experiments, figuring out what genuinely works for you, and having the confidence to discard the rest.
Precisely. Don't rote learn your way to feel good productivity, the author advises. Experiment your way.
I love that. Experiment your way.
Ultimately, the journey isn't about striving for some unattainable state of perfect productivity, but rather about, as he puts it, strategically stumbling your way to what works for you personally.
Strategically stumbling, that takes the pressure off.
Doesn't it? It's about consciously learning from your inevitable failures and genuinely celebrating your successes along the way. That's how you transform work and life's challenges from being a constant drain on your resources to becoming a vibrant source of energy and even joy.
So if you can truly tap into what makes you feel most energized and alive, you can get anywhere you desire. And crucially, you can actually enjoy the journey too.
That's the promise.
What if the key to unlocking your true potential isn't just about working harder, but about finding more joy, more energy, more alignment in the effort itself every single day? That's a really powerful thought to carry with you beyond this deep dive.
Absolutely. Something to truly reflect on and experiment with in your own life.